Hey, what's good there, folks? It's Tom next to Taco. We're going to be bringing you our third set of the day. But unfortunately, week number one of the console scene is going to start off with a little bit of a stunt. I said third set. We're just going to bring you one game, however. Clow and his team could not actually fill their full roster for game number one, so we can't bring that to you. We're just going to bring one match. It'll be Clow in the squad versus Obey on the other side. We'll take a look at how this one works out. Let's head into picks and bans right away for game one of one here in our first set.
Hey, so, I mean, if you're gonna make an initial debut, one and done's all you need.
Bay Alliance will start off the ban process, taking Thoth out of the equation next to the Zeus. Thoth is a character, me and Ryan talked about it earlier, in the sense that it doesn't matter what platform you're on, Thoth just brings a lot to the table and is too scary.
Yeah, and the same thing goes for Zeus as far as that regard is concerned. You have a lot of control coming out, especially in a lot of the early map pressure fights.
Right.
So Zeus is definitely a safe one to go ahead and take away, as well as the Izanami and Apollo. They are not looking for that early pressure.
I was actually going to talk about the Izanami as we see Sylvanus locked in real quick. Izanami has sort of fallen out of favor on the PC side of things, still loved here in console. What is it about Izanami that you think people like versus what they don't like on PC?
Well, you can see, like, for console, they want to focus a little bit more on just that easy, safe clearing, because on the side of PC, why Izanami isn't really that favored is because you can put a lot of pressure, but I feel like with Xbox, considering its different controls and everything, it's a little bit harder to go ahead and apply some of that, but you can secure it easily if you have Izanami coming out. And you can see there's a lot of really strong drafting coming out on the side of Obey Alliance with the Sylvanus, Awilix, and Poseidon.
Yeah, the Awilix obviously going to work with the knockup out of, honestly, both of those ultimates if Poseidon can aim correctly. Hercules, Ratatorskr, and Khepri across the way. I love the Khepri pick because Khepri annoys pretty much everybody, but specifically front-loaded teams like Poseidon. You drop the Kraken and the guy gets revived and you can't drop the Kraken again. So.
I think, the Khepri, like you said, it's a really smart matchup for that because you see a lot of single target bursts coming out. The Sylvanus, sure, you have the AoE knockup, but the Awilix, she's only going to pull one person if she does off of the Sylvanus, and Kraken's only going to land one time typically. You want to focus target it, on one person in particular. So the Khepri should definitely be there to save the day.
A lot of times we look at our bans and Thoth, Izanami, Apollo, Zeus. Those are all products of the specific meta that we're in, how the game is played and some of the picks and bans and stuff like that. Jean-Qui over there, that's because of the player. Clow is one of the only... Actually, to be fair, we saw Shaliber play Jean-Qui as well. We have two Jean-Qui mains in the same league right now. Chaos over on the PC side of thing, he's a Jean-Qui main. And what's interesting is here, this character is about to be buffed. He's not buffed yet, and yet we still see the ban because of the respect. Obey Alliance finish up their draft with Xing and Anhur.
Yeah, Obey Alliance put a lot of emphasis, I think, onto trying to shut Cloud down early on, considering that he's definitely a top player on the side of Area Eternity. And so if you go ahead and take away some of his comfort picks, it can put a lot of stress onto the team. Absolutely.
I mean, Clow is one of the stronger players here in the Smite console league. I mean, he's been playing Smite alongside some of the longest time players here in the league and across both leagues, honestly. So you definitely want to watch out for him. He'll be playing on the Raw Era Eternity versus Obey Alliance. Obey will start the game off with a single win, as the first one was forfeited, by Era. And we'll get into the game here. Clow on that Ra, like we said. We got Fatal Ghost and Catalyyyst playing in the long lane. oMarsleezy will be the jungle rat, and TheYungHomie will be playing on that Hercules in the short lane. And Obey, this is the team formerly known as Eager. Nobody really knew here, but they changed their names.
They did change their names. pbnjellly coming in strong.
Oh my goodness. So Am Dwurst is Dwurst. I don't have a problem with that. Myflin, for once, is the level-headed player on this team. I never thought I'd say that. He's going to keep his name. But Delta Marine 72, Air Cougar 72.
Shout outs to the 72 because, numbers 1 through 71 we're taking.
Just couldn't handle it. Air Cougar going to grab from his own teammate. And formerly Jelly, now pbnjellly. To be fair, these players had to change. They had Eager in their name, so they had to change it a little bit. You could have just changed it to the original name, but we'll let you meme, Air Cougar. I see you, because right now, you're going to look for the aggression here, especially this lane. Sylvanus Anhur. You want to talk about aggression.
Yeah, Sylvanus is definitely going to go ahead and give the advantage to Obey in that duo lane, considering that he has the AoE auto. So while Khepri and Medusa has a lot of early lane push, it's still not going to be as strong as the AoE. And you can see immediately they're just looking to take the small babies from the buff camp, go ahead and give them an advantage to trying to hit level 2 before Era Eternity can go ahead and pick up their second level.
It's a big play that Era Eternity in the draft phase matched, or at least tried to match the push coming out of Obey. Like you said, the Sylvanus Anhur, some of the higher push, but Khepri and Medusa, no slouch either. Normally, what you would see here is Obey pushes out, and you get to get 4 of the little smaller guys, both from the purple and the red, but because of that heavy match, we only see the purple ones taken, and so Era Eternity can avoid the mismatch level situation.
And I think it's really smart that they're going ahead and opting to secure their red buff, just in case there's too much pressure coming out on the side of Obey. To avoid the invade, they might as well lock it down. Plus, it'll help them with their push into that dual lane, and so it'll compensate a lot against the Sylvanus on her clear, with the Medusa having red buff to help initiate better.
Nice little pull coming out from pbnjellly, but honestly, support's taking more damage than he dished out, and the first blood goes to Era Eternity. Fatal Ghost able to pick up that kill. That right there, I mean, Jelly, he went for the pull, but there was still too many minions.
It's not even just the minions as well as that red buff. I think he really was not thinking about the extra damage that was providing onto the Medusa, and it seems like Hercules could meet the same fate.
Yeah, he's going to jump away. He'll have a little bit of a dot ticked on him, but in general should be fine. And that was one of the big deals I was going to mention. pbnjellly came into lane with the purple buff. As far as just raw impact, I think the red buff, even this early on, though it's percentage based, you get a percentage of your power. The red buff is just more impactful than the purple.
Yeah, and it's going to be a real downside for them as well, considering all that early pressure that they had just established in the duo lane. They're now immediately losing due to the loss of the first blood on their side.
Right side, Dwurst and TheYungHomie, relatively low. Not going to really amount to anything. This matchup here, the Guardian Xing versus the flavor of the week, Hercules. How you feeling about that?
I think that that's a relatively safe matchup on both sides. Xing, while he doesn't necessarily have the best levels 1 through 5, at the same time, he's a character that's not really going to be able to die to the Hercules. You know, he's got his escape, which is a pretty good escape considering that the Hercules with the knockback push can be pretty devastating, and you can see right away he's already forcing out the ultimate onto Dwurst.
Yeah, right there. So it's actually no surprise to see Hercules throw the boulder out in an attempt to clear the wave. I don't know about this Xing channel.
The Xing tunnel, I think, was predominantly out of him not wanting to get driving stroke into the tower, because if he finds himself, you know, behind that tower line taking a shot, that's really all that homie would really need to secure that kill onto him and establish even more pressure onto the map.
Yeah, Dwurst right here. One of the long-time Xing players, actually. He routinely, going back, these guys have been on the same team pretty much since the initiation of the console league, and even before that, when the console scene was really just sporadic MLG and UMG tournaments, this Obey team, formerly known as Eager, really likes to sort of stick together and play that Xing in the short lane. Jelly gets his ultimate forced out, more so than actually uses it. Rotation out of the Hercules as well. Big Kraken coming out of Delta Marine, and it's more defensive than anything. Obey's getting really engaged on whenever Era Eternity wants. That time, they're able to create the separation.
And it's actually so important there that Catalyyyst went ahead and burned the ultimate onto his jungler, oMarsleezy, even though Myflin wasn't going to chase. So the fact that they were able to instill that sort of fear onto the side of Era Eternity, that's actually a huge win for Obey, because while they only burn 2 ultimates, you've got Era Eternity immediately having to toss out 3 to try, and so that's going to put them ahead, I think, as far as maybe wanting to engage a little bit more onto those oracles, or even look for like an early Gold Fury fight.
When it comes down to it, you know, you also want to compare the level of how much do those individual ultimates actually affect the fight. Jelly's ultimate is a very big tool, but we'll see that later more as the mid game gets along. That ultimate's going to set up a ton of damage. Right now, you can sort of forgo the Sylvanus ultimate, unlike the Kraken. Kraken's going to be a game-changing ult this early on, as opposed to the Ratatorskr ult, game-changer from minute 1. Catalyyyst ult out of the Khepri, game-changer from minute 1. So you definitely have to look at that, and Obey, like you said, kind of wind up.
Yeah, and you can see solo laners doing what solo laners do best, but not the case in the duo lane.
Ooh, we're gonna get the wiggle away, but no such thing as a 1v1 in competitive play. Feather Step won't end it. Couple of basics might, but Fatal Ghost finds refuge inside of the wave, and oMarsleezy making the rotation. He wasn't spotted on the ward, but just intuition kind of lets you know that there's going to be a rotation that quickly. Delta Marine, Kraken available. There's the Whirlpool. There's the Kraken. Not enough to secure the kill. My man's Ghost just going to walk away.
That's actually huge that we weren't able to go ahead and secure the kill, but the Khepri is definitely not out of danger.
Here comes rotation from Clow, finally here from the mid lane. Delta Marine very low, falls down to oMarsleezy's basics. Here's going to be pbnjellly aggressed on. Clow still trying to find it, no ultimate available. As he shot it through the wall. One falls down as Delta Marine 72. Still, obey. First game under the new banner, and not able to find a kill.
And you can see Era Eternity going ahead and using that fight to their advantage with the Raw sustain. They're going to be able to go ahead and pressure this Gold Fury, if not secure it, considering that there aren't any ultimates really left on the side of Obey to try and counteract it. But Jelly's going to go ahead and find the kill onto Clow. That is so unfortunate.
That is... I mean, so we've seen objectives taken by... the famous Geb basing out of Incon. Incon also stole a Gold Fury with a Mystical Mail proc once upon a time. Renz comes to mind with the So Beautiful of the
That's
Gold
a real
Fury.
throwback.
That one's got to be fun. But when it comes down to it, just the kill. The fact that the Sylvanus, I mean, Jelly wasn't even sitting there like, all right, I'm gonna throw the one out. If he was really looking to get the kill off of the Gold Fury, he's gonna throw at least the root and then follow. He just throws the basic just for, like, you got to throw something into the mix, right? If you look at the Gold Fury and watch it go down, I mean, you're doing it wrong. You just throw something, and Clow happens to fall. Just a perfect setup for him. Clow gets a shot on the Delta Marine, who answers back with a Kraken. Trouble for oMarsleezy. And Myflin gets the kill, not done just yet. Knock up onto the Ra, but the TheYungHomie tosses the boulder and hits the 3. The long-range shot out of the solo Hercules secures the kill under the mid-tower, and a big ultimate from Am Dwurst gonna isolate. pbnjellly gets one, Canada fall after.
That is just really comes down to bad positioning on the side of Clow, where he couldn't really find a way to escape being halfway up the lane. But it's even more unlucky that the Khepri ult came out just a little bit too soon. So rather than going ahead and bursting him down, Obey had more than enough time to just wait out until it went off, and then they went ahead and just picked up the double kill onto the Khepri and Clow, which is, like I said, it's just so unfortunate that the timing ended up playing out that way for them.
Yeah, just a little bit rough. Air Cougar actually secures the enemy red buff and doesn't pick it up. Very, very, very curious.
He was probably just a little bit concerned that, you know, there might have been a rotation coming out from the jungler. Even though they had just lost that team fight in mid lane, there is still potential for Era Eternity to catch him while he's trying to work his way back up that duo lane, because even if you're halfway up the lane, there's still more than enough room for them to go ahead and pursue a little bit of a chase. And if Era Cougar's caught out by himself because his team just want to fight, I mean, they're not going to really be able to retaliate in time to try and save him.
Very true. Not a lot of tools either. As you can see, the ultimate still ticking up. Sylvanus, Myflin, and Am Dwurst all have their ultimates down for the count. Right now, there's the Ratatorskr ult, interrupting Air Cougar's jump, finds a little bit of the damage. CC immunity comes out, but more importantly, the damage right back. oMarsleezy, both of them down to their last shot, and Catalyyyst snatches it away from the jungler, who's in a bad spot. His meditation saves him for the moment. pbnjellly walks into 3, but nobody really wants to deal with the level 9 Sylvanus.
I think that it's actually super risky that Jelly chose to make his pathing that way, because when you're walking right in between 3 people, I'm a little bit surprised that Era Eternity wouldn't opt to try and body block him at the very least and just apply a lot more damage onto him, because they probably could have found themselves in a very fortunate and like solid spot if they could have just gone ahead and picked them up.
Yeah, very that was so Jelly plays like that. Jelly formerly jungled for this team, and then eventually him and Myflin just switched positions. And Jelly, because at the end of the day, both of these players are extremely aggressive. Myflin is just even more aggressive than Jelly, so you kind of give him up the jungle position. Kraken comes out in the mid lane, and it's enough to claim Clow. Clow just didn't have any tools right there. 0-3-2. Rough start for the mid laner right here. He's really the focus here.
Yeah, smart punishment onto Clow as well, considering that they recognized that he had little to no mana, probably not enough for even one ability, much less two, to try and peel for himself. So for them to go ahead and dump the Kraken onto him, that's just smart recognition. That's just what a seasoned player tends to do.
Yeah, the Aegis was actually down at the moment and up now, so they also kept in mind about the relic situation as well. So just big attention to detail coming out from Obey, which is, this is one of the more storied teams in Smite. New organization, but same old style. Aggressive play coming out from Myflin, and we were talking about the aggression out of support as well. Myflin going to get his beads burned right there to walk away from the slow. Interesting to note. Not even the stun coming out, but Fatal goes to the Medusa. Even that slow can be scary.
Yeah, you definitely don't want to find yourself caught off guard with the Medusa slow, because it's definitely easy punishment. The Khepri could have maybe, if he hadn't beat that, the Khepri pull would have most likely connected, and then that's just so much free damage that you don't want to risk taking, especially not with the waves coming up, and you can find yourself dying very easily in those sort of situations.
Definitely not a situation you want to be in. Jelly, still aggressive as ever, looking for the individual pull here.
Yeah, and you can see as well Air Cougar leaning towards Jelly now, debating making those kind of big boy rotations that you want to see out of Anhur, considering this is the point where Anhur really tends to take off. It's not quite mid-game, so to say, but he's got the Ninja Tabi online, he's got the Ickful online, he's definitely looking to box and try and use his attack speed to his advantage, especially in these one-on-one engagements with the Medusa, who opted for the Transcendence and Warrior Tabi, which is a pretty standard build for an ability-based hunter, but early on, it's still not as much boxing potential as you would find considering Anhur's passive, and then once you apply the Ickful passive on top of that, it just becomes a little bit too much to handle.
Yeah, it's very interesting how your itemization can change your curve. When you look at different hunters, you have late game hunters, Xbalanque, and early game hunters like Anhur, Medusa, who find themselves in the mid game. And two evenly matched curve hunters, Air Cougar speeds his up so that he could fight earlier.
Oh, yeah, no, Air Cougar's definitely looking to try and just get as much of a whammy as possible, because as soon as that Medusa gets that Fatalis online, it will become incredibly difficult for him to try and take up boxing matches with her, considering that with the passive on the Medusa, and she's swerving and curving and just absolutely tearing you apart once she comes online.
Vision coming out on the left side from Era Eternity, very important here, and that they understand exactly what we were talking about, how Anhur looking to make the curve a little bit earlier with that Ickful. Era Eternity realized that Air Cougar's going to be making this rotation all the time, hopefully to take out Clow if you're an Obey fan, but I don't think Obey need help with that. Myflin gets one, pbnjellly pick up the other, and it's a 3-on-2 scenario in the mid lane. Clow falls for the 4th time this game. A little bit of zone coming out from Obey, and with the 2 players down, they're looking for the objective.
Yeah, there's just not a whole lot, though, that Fatal Ghost is going to be able to do on the Medusa, going ahead and expending his ultimate, which puts them in a really awkward situation, because you got TheYungHomie on the backside, but what is he really going to do? He's Boulder and he's dead.
Yeah, he throws the boulder, gets rooted, he's going to scoot a little bit, but he's saved over the wall from Catalyyyst. Brilliant play coming out from the support player, but it just might not be enough. Myflin puts number 8 on the board for his team, his 3rd kill. 7 out of 8. Have had the Myflin mark of approval on them. And so Obey again, look at the Gold Fury. It will go down to the blue team. Catalyyyst right now won't suffer too hard, but that's going to be the first real lead of the contest. 2,000 gold, give or take, in the lead for Obey.
That was actually very lucky for Catalyyyst to not get punished right there, because even in that moment, with 4 people surrounding the Gold Fury, that is a very easy opportunity for Obey to go ahead and chase him down if they want to. Area Eternity had expended most of their ultimates, trying to kite around that Gold Fury initially, and especially after losing Clow in the mid lane, and Clow's just not having the greatest time of his life in this mid lane, just so much pressure being applied onto him. And typically, you want your Raw to be in a safe position, but it just seems like he's not really able to get the peel that he needs in order to try and resustain in these team fights.
That's the key there for me. And if I'm looking, Fire Giant started very early. 15 minutes, the Fire Giant call coming out from Era Eternity. So if you've been following the Smite scene for a long time, you know exactly who Clow is. And Clow has definitely changed a little bit over the years, has a very serious career here on the SCL. But one thing that I don't think will ever change, and I don't want it to ever change, is the Clow call. You will get a call in the middle of a game. So you watch YoungHomie just get charged and obliterated here on the solo side. Myflin picks up number 9 for the team. You will get just a seemingly awkward call, a call for no reason. All right, it's 12 minutes in. Let's hit the fire giant, and you don't really question it because that's Clow's style of leading. And you want to know what? More often than not, it's successful. So I see the shot for the fire giant, and it's 14:30 on the clock. It's too early, but Era are behind. I respect the call.
I mean, they did manage to get it down to half health, and it looks like Eric Cougar's going to be entirely out of health after that.
And there's the Kraken coming out on the left side, trying to help things is Delta Marine. Myflin's going to fall down. Beautiful fight for Era of Eternity. They're down 3,000 gold, and they're looking to make it back this way. They get 2 kills. Nice little backstep by oMarsleezy. What is that, the Barra backstep?
I mean, there's a lot of different names coming out these days. I know that
The
Ally...
Chapo Cha-Cha?
There is the Chapo Cha-Cha. Ally gave me a little bit with the, he's got the Allied Wriggle and then the Taco Tussle.
The Taco Tussle.
The Taco Tussle.
I got very upset. There was no F.hop. I mean, what is that about? That is a classic. Come on. There's I mean, it's just how it goes. The Wolfie Wiggle, you gotta name it for yourself. So what do we have here? The Marsleezy March Around. That's what you get. That's what you're getting, Marsleezy. Delta Marine walks in between 2 very powerful players. This could be very problematic, despite the fact that he's in his own jungle. Era Eternity, just barely gonna miss the grab there. pbnjellly not able to punish the invade.
Clow finally finding a little bit of luck this match, considering that I was almost expecting that to land and Clow to be finding his 5th death in this game, because he didn't have the mana, and I think that's the main reason why they immediately turned as soon as they saw Jelly coming in. And you can see Jelly on this Sylvanus, 4-1 and 4. He's been a part of nearly every single kill.
So historically, Jelly, he's just a fantastic Sylvanus player. Going back to MLG Columbus, which is actually, believe it or not, where I met Aggro. And my life has never been the same since. Going back to MLG Columbus, we actually saw pbnjellly solo a player as Sylvanus. Now you tell me that the Sobek gets the solo, I'm like, okay. You tell me Ymir gets the solo, I'm like, okay. And granted, he was level 20 with a Void Stone and stuff like that. But he was still Sylvanus getting a solo kill. So, I mean, realistically, it came from a off-the-wall grab, through the wall. Just pbnjellly has the hours on this character, and it's certainly showing.
Hey, Wisp OP. Like, I don't think enough people recognize how much damage the dot proc on that Sylvanus ultimate plus the Wisp really does, and that was just...
that's not what you want to do.
Speaking of Sylvanus plays.
pbnjellly nails the grab, but, I mean, he pulls him out of the ultimate from his own mid laner. Cloud's ultimate, however, hits certainly. Delta Marine is both yelling at his teammate and yelling at himself. He can't get away, and Fatal Ghost secures it. Bad ultimate coming out from oMarsleezy, way behind the opposition. Driving Strike also going to be off the mark. Big ultimate coming out from Am Dwurst, but everybody walks away. Nice little homie hustle coming out to avoid the ult right there. Tier Tower, number 1. Nice flip kick coming out from YoungHomie, answered back with the Anhur ult. But Fatal Ghost is the hunter that is more supreme at the moment. 4-0-1 as they collect 500 gold for the Tier 1 tower.
And we're finally getting to see Clow in action on this Raw, doing what Raws do best, and that is just sustaining throughout every single one of these tower sieges.
And, this is exciting to me because, it's actually funny. The situation by the speed buff, by the red buff that Clow got away from was probably the first time I saw Clow do something really bad. That was the wrong play and he gets away. But he winds up 0-4, or he winds up 0-4 without really making any mistakes himself, really. Great zone coming out from Kata and YoungHomie, the rest of the team taking care of the objective. And this is a big swing. Lead change, as they say in hockey. EE gonna take things up. And 0-4 for the mid lane off of no real issue of himself. Just Obey making fantastic plays, and then one team fight is all Era Eternity needed to turn this game around. They take one team fight, that turns into tying the game up when they were down about 2K. That allows them to take the confidence to go into the next team fight, the tower, the Gold Fury, etc.
Yeah, once you get the Ra really rolling with that sustaining through the heals and everything like that, it just becomes so difficult to try and counter-engage, especially since Obey were consistently losing teammates throughout those sieges. They kept losing one at the T1, then they lost another at the T2, and you just don't really want to try and prevent that siege. And at that point in time, there's really nothing you can do because you're against 5 people with full health, and you're down 3 people, and then suddenly, next thing you know, you're losing both your towers and a Gold Fury.
And there are certain windows in Smite where you want the deicide, but that's one of those rare situations where you actually want the staggered respawns more than the straight up deicide, because you get one person in the jungle, you get another person in the lane, and that allows you to push down, like you said. And by having those respawns staggered, you're never going to get hit with the giant wave of a new team walking into the lane. So you have that ability to go ahead, take a tower, take a second tower, and that really allows Era Eternity to open up the window. Obey right there. Take out the Portal Demon uncontested. Era Eternity looking to turn it around, however. Big grab coming out from Myflin on the left-hand side. The rest of the team forced underneath the tower. And Myflin, you grabbed the wrong dude. Fatal Ghost just smokes him out. Big Medusa play coming out. Uses the ultimate to take down Myflin.
Yeah, I don't think a Hercules is really the person that you want to be pulling at this point in the game, especially not a level 17 Hercules with so much defense online. Myflin definitely getting punished for jumping the gun on that one.
Yeah, just Medusa comes through and cleans up, and that kill alone, look at that, what Era Eternity is able to do with a single kill. Myflin goes down, and honestly, the Awilix isn't the one really driving the game right now. And with the single kill onto Awilix, Era Eternity is able to get that tier 1 tower. Why is Myflin's presence so important in these team fights?
Well, the thing about Myflin is that even though he isn't necessarily the driving force behind it, he is a lot of the target focus. So essentially, whoever Myflin is engaging on, especially since he's basing a lot of his ultimates around the Sylvanus ultimate, around the Xing 10 ultimate, rather than having to worry about landing his own knockup consistently, it becomes really difficult for Obey to really have any sort of target focus. And so Myflin falls, they lose a little bit of AoE damage, they lose a lot of single target damage, and ultimately there's just no way for them to really try and compensate for that.
Yeah, a little bit rough as Obey watch their lead sort of walk away. Kills might be tied. It's 9-9, and it's 2-2-2-2 on the clock, just past 20 minutes. But Era Eternity, they've made the turnaround, and they're leading by a slight amount. Much more close to a tie game than not, but that 1,500 gold can certainly sway teams in a certain direction. I've brought it up before. 10K is me and aggro, where we're just like, all right, this game is clearly maybe not won yet, but somebody's doing something. 7K is you're gonna have some trouble. 5K, we can take a Gold Fury and make a fight. What do you do with 1,500? You just sort of ward?
Yeah, I mean, there's going to be a lot of warding involved, of course, but I think the main thing is that this is actually a really awkward situation for Obey, because the game is starting to reach that stage where Ra becomes basically an unkillable factor. His heal is just so huge, and the team fight that they have based around on the side of Era Eternity is really strong as well.
Obey tried to start a team fight of their own, or more likely getting caught out in the mid lane. Cloud just off the mark. Delta Marine still going to have to back to base. There's a big ultimate coming out from Dwurst, forcing out the beats and the Khepri ultimate. I think Catalyyyst was a little too quick on the trigger there, but Era Eternity are going to have to deal with it anyway. No ultimates available for the red team. Kraken and ultimate out of Anhur still available.
Yeah, you can see that Obey are really trying to rely a whole lot onto the Sylvanus sustain, hoping that the Wisp can try and heal him up, but it's just not the same effect as a Ra heal. Yeah. You can see Era Eternity already, the entire team back to full health, even after Fatal Ghost was finding himself at like 40% just then, and immediately he's ready to go, ready to jump right back into the action. And granted, nobody on Obey is low either, but at the same time, Era Eternity are really probably going to just start bleeding out Obey slowly, because the longer the team fights go, the harder it becomes for the Sylvanus sustain to really balance out and match up with the Ra sustain. I
mean, Jelly's been, look at the healing. You have 7,500 on one side and 9,000 on the other. So only separated by 1,500 healing, which is probably more than it sounds like. But also the fact that Jelly has been healing his team pretty much the entirety of the game, at least his dual lane partner, whereas Clow was shut down early. He was 0-4. He wasn't really involved in these team fights. That 9,000 healing comes in the later section of the game, as opposed to Jelly, who's been healing the entire time.
And you can see the Gold Fury dances are already kicking back up again. Neither team really wanting to be the initial initiating factor, but at the same time, it looks like Clow and oMarsleezy are looking to potentially pull a little sneaky around the back there.
Yeah, when it comes down to it, Clow and oMarsleezy themselves can really either isolate a player and take him out just like that, a nice little stun combined with the rat damage, and then of course Clow just hitting 4 certainly going to go ahead and obliterate players. Man, aggro would toast me, so it's not 4, it's X. But you know how it works. Just hitting the ultimate. Gold Fury still being danced around here, Taco. Is this really where teams want to look at? 25 minutes. Why aren't they at the Fire Giant?
I think that they just feel as though it's a little bit safer to go ahead and fight around the Gold Fury. I don't think they're necessarily looking to pick up the Gold Fury itself as much as they want to have a little bit more of an open area and not risk as much damage, because say you're the team aggroing the Fire Giant on accident and then you end up getting a 3-man knock-up onto your team, and then everybody's dead because there's an Awilix in the game and a Kraken, and that's just not a situation you ever want to find yourself in.
So Era Eternity playing it safe here, looking for the safer objective. Gold Fury already down to 25%. Dwurst shows up looking for the ultimate. He'll get the ult, and it will leash the Gold Fury as Clow's ult comes out. Beautiful play from the solo laner on Obey. Trouble for pbnjellly, knocks up 2, gets Myflin ultimate out, but it's beads out by the Medusa. Here comes Homie by himself. Hercules not able to isolate enough, and Obey walks away.
I think the worst part about all of that, too, is that Dwurst Magi's wasn't even popped during that engagement, so he still can initiate and have a pretty safe chance of getting out due to the CC immunity on the item.
Nice knock-up. YoungHomie now gets targeted with the Catalyyyst ultimate. Nice little rallying ritual. So Ghost gets joined by oMarsleezy.
And just, so all the meditations, the healing, and this is just staring off, seeing, again, who wants to go in first.
And nobody outside of Myflin with a beat stick. All right, you got a Divine Rune. Good job, Poseidon. I was just going to comment on the severe lack of healing reduction. The Divine Rune comes out, the beat stick comes out. Maybe a little bit too late. So it's not too late. The game is tied. It's definitely not over by any stretch of the imagination. But one has to wonder what would have happened if Obey bought those anti-heal items a little bit earlier.
I mean, they certainly would have had a much easier time dealing with the Hercules and the raw heal, but at the same time, it looks like they're going to be locking down YoungHomie pretty easily here.
Kraken comes out, Myflin's able to get number 10 onto the board. And that be that for the moment. Big ultimate coming out of Fatal Ghost as he's by his lonesome. Dwurst jumps forward. His ultimate is on cooldown as he missed it beforehand. But the Kraken certainly did the job. One player down is the Hercules. The Portal Demon will be started. Nice ultimate coming out from the support. Clow gets grabbed, but he's beads out, and he'll live to see another day for the moment until Myflin reaches him with the bowling ball through the wall. Down goes the Ra. And now the trouble for the Medusa. Air Cougar peels off the objective. Medusa gets flipped, Medusa gets smoked, and Dwurst one more time gets another kill. Fantastic play for the man from the Midwest.
Dwurst is actually doing so much work onto that Air Eternity backline. He is not giving them any breathing room whatsoever. He's been consistently forcing out their actives, which has just made it all the easier for Myflin to go ahead and get in there, get his damage off, and then back off. And then once you add on to that, the Anhur pillars and the slows from the Poseidon coming out with the Gem of Isolation, it just becomes a really horrible situation for Air Eternity to try fighting into.
I mean, Dwurst on this character, as the Portal Demon was taken and Fire Giant started because of it. 33% on the Fire Giant. Still a little bit to go, but nobody on Era can even come close. Great zone coming out from Dwurst one more time. Homie gets flipped, Homie gets pulled, Homie gets saved! Catalyyyst finds the ultimate. And the Hercules will live to see another day. Great play from the support. We've seen a couple of really strong saves from Kata, who falls down to the wayside for only the second time this game.
Yeah, a bit unfortunate that he went ahead and got chased down. There's not really much that you can do against the mobility comp that Obey has, because the Awilix is that's just a punishment every time onto Khepri.
And he got the save. He saved the offensive player on his team. That's what you're looking for in that situation. pbnjellly gets hit by the ultimate of the rat, but he gets grabbed as well. Quick Aegis is going to chase oMarsleezy to the back line. pbnjellly still taking the tower as the Phoenix is about to half HP. Here comes more damage as nobody from Era can really play goalie anymore. And Cougar finds the kill onto Fatal Ghost, and the Firebird goes down.
That was just like machine gun shots after shots after shots, and Fatal Ghost was just completely eating every single one of them straight to the face.
That's, you know, I said, Era can't really play goalie anymore. By that I mean physically block the body blocks or block the basic attacks, because that's how that'll target, make the Firebird target the player, etc. This, that, and a third. But when the Anhur is 1/3 away from full build, I mean, all you're missing is the very last component of what's likely to be a Deathbringer. It's just, you're getting hit for too much to actually block those shots.
Yeah, not to mention that with Wind Demon online for Air Cougar, one crit is really all he needs, because even if he's not critting with the rest of those shots, they're still going to be hurting with that Executioner being online on top of everything else coming out on the side of Obey. And now it just looks like a really fickle situation for Air Eternity. There's really not much of a way for them to try and prevent that siege.
Yeah, right now you're trailing by about 10,000 gold, Era that is, to Obey. They still have the option as far as to Clow, the mid lane Ra is concerned. Still a lot of healing involved in that regard, and Era certainly can continue on. But what it comes down to is Obey with their lead right now, a little bit too tough to traditionally fight into. What's the best strategy that Era can take into this late game?
Well, unfortunately for Era, having 2 Phoenixes down means that they are probably going to need to either engage when Obey tries to siege down that mid Phoenix outside of the base, or they're just going to fall victim to the fire creeps pushing in.
Right.
And if the creeps get into their base, there's just too much damage all around that'll be falling onto their Titan for them to really go ahead and fight back into it. So mainly for them, they're just going to need to take up a fight like outside of that middle lane Phoenix, or outside of whichever side of the lane that Obey chooses to run down, because having a healer composition, we've seen the reward coming out of the Ra. We saw it earlier on in this game where the Ra started to come online just a little bit.
Exactly.
But then when the anti-heal started to come through, we're starting to see the risk that you take when you run a healer composition with the Ra especially. Because if they had a secondary healer, it wouldn't be as devastating for Era. But having one, it's just, there's just not much you can do. He can only heal so much for so long.
And right here, Clow just gets impaled. That one, so we saw the group up before. I was going to bring this up. Era Eternity group up is 3 to push up that left side lane, and that's what you want to do when you're looking to push that far up. Era Eternity grouped up as 3 on the left side lane and pushed all the way up to where the enemy tier 1 tower would have been, ensuring that they have a little bit of breathing room. I like that play, but I like that play with the whole team, not by yourself. Frenzy's popped by Obey, and it might have been a little too early, let's say. YoungHomie gets cracking and maybe not. Saved up by the support. Catalyyyst going to run back, and the players from Obey just getting ready to start going into the throne room.
Yeah, you can tell right away that Obey definitely want to go ahead and just capitalize on this game, but it looks like Jelly is going to claim the life of Fatal Ghost right away. 5
kills for the support Sylvanus. I always get excited when Jelly plays Sylvanus. It's just a little bit more exciting than some of the other choices. The boys at Obey are going to go chase kills while Am Dwurst and Jelly take care of the actual Titan. That sounds about right for Obey. Same guys we knew and loved under the Eager banner. But these guys certainly play through it, and Jelly winds up being a really big part of it. Game number 1, if you're just joining us, was lost as it was forfeited by Clow and the folks on EE, unable to field a roster. So we come into game number 2 as Clow finds a replacement, and unfortunately, though they had a moment, EE still falls down to the guys on Obey.
Yeah, just a lot of tables being turned both ways.
Yeah, we saw a couple of different turnarounds, and a big part of what allowed Obey to win is going to be Myflin here in the jungle. Really set things up early on, and we saw his impact. It didn't look like he wasn't 10-0 and et cetera like we saw some of the early Thanatos play. 4-1-4 pretty much at this moment at 13 minutes on the clock, but a single kill onto Myflin at this point in the game prevented Obey from really making big plays.
Yeah, like we talked about, Myflin was definitely a lot of the capitalizing on the setup, and you could just tell he was on point every single time. I mean, it helps with your ultimates when you've got your whole team being there looking out for you, but at the same time, he was definitely making a lot of plays on his own, and Jelly making his own plays for sure as well.
That's my highlight. That's my highlight. The whole game, the whole set, the single auto attack from Sylvanus claims the life of the mid lane. That one a little bit more involved, gets the double kill on the support Sylvanus. You know, like I said, I mean, this has been one of his go-to characters for a long time, and it clearly shows.
Oh, yeah, he definitely looked more than confident on that Sylvanus pick. He was going ahead, getting off his pulls whenever he needed to. And, I mean, overall, just really well played on the side of Obey.
Yeah, they're going to go ahead and claim the win. We're in our first week of the SCL here, but we'll see how the teams stack up against each other with the wins and losses as Obey take 2 wins today, and that's going to give them a great situation tied up with my guys up there on the top. Soar Gaming and Strictly Business make up the middle, and Elevate and Era Eternity, unfortunately, unable to find a win here, wind up on the bottom of things. I think that we've got a good look at most of these teams today. Strictly Business and Soar. Honestly, this is a good snapshot. Take this, and I think that the end of the season will look a little bit similar to this look right now.
I could definitely see it, but at the same time, I wouldn't count out Era Eternity quite yet. I mean, they did play with a sub today.
Very true, very true. We have not yet seen what all Era Eternity can do. There's certainly stuff left. I personally want to thank and welcome Strictly Business to the Smite scene. This is the first team that they've had here, Era Eternity as well. So it's awesome to see some new names and faces in the console league. So as we head out, Taco, how do you feel about the console league?
I mean, Box Boys are definitely interesting to say the least.
And how do you feel about your first go at this whole commentary thing?
I will find out that from Twitch chat later on. Yeah. So
I'm going to dig up all your old tweets when you make fun of the casters, and I'm just going to tweet it. I'm going to retweet every single one, and we'll see how it works out. Thanks a lot, Taco, for joining me, of course, all the casters behind the scenes, and more importantly, the production guys that keep the show, the lights, and my microphone on. We appreciate you for showing up, and we'll catch you next time on the SCL. For everybody else, Smite on.